You're locked in live, and I'm Algernon Cash. Thank you for joining me for this quick live segment. Tonight, I want to highlight the Georgia runoff election. That's right, election 2020 is not quite over yet. It's continuing to just churn along here. And down in Georgia, we are looking at a runoff election that could have a huge impact on the balance of power in Washington, D.C. Right now, Senate Republicans have won or have currently 50 seats. Just in the last day or so, we picked up North Carolina. Of course, Senator Tillis was reelected, and we also picked up Alaska. Senator Dan Sullivan was reelected to his seat. And so the two seats that are up in a runoff election in Georgia could really decide the balance of power. If Democrats were to pick up those two seats, it would basically enable the administration to utilize Senator Kamala Harris, or Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, would be the tie-breaking vote. So this is really, really important for Republicans. And for a lot of us like myself who value and appreciate divided government, it's really important for us as well. I don't like partisan bickering, so I want to clarify that. But I really do like divided government because that way we can make sure we've got balanced, well thought out policy that doesn't do a lot of unintended harm. So tonight I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I really think Republicans are going to be victorious. If you have any questions about the Georgia runoff election, certainly you can comment, leave the question. I'll try to tackle it within my conversation. I do expect that the whole world is getting ready to converge or down in Georgia. You're going to see the full weight of the GOP, but you're also going to see the full weight of the DNC, as well as a lot of outside groups that are associated with both parties. I expect that you'll see a lot of blocking and tackling from the Republican Party, which is their standard strategy. So they're going to be getting out trying to make a lot of direct voter contacts, knocking on doors, making phone calls. You probably won't see as much visibility from the Republican Party in this runoff election, but make no doubt about it, they will be out working. I think the DNC is going to take a different track. They're going to be very public, very visible, and they're going to be looking for a Hail Mary. And so you're going to see every athlete, celebrity, anyone with any kind of influence will be down in Georgia for this runoff election. I promise you this will be the battle of all elections, and if you're a political junkie like me, you are certainly looking forward to it. Georgia's a little bit of a strange state. So in Georgia, if you don't get a majority, or at least get 50% of the vote, you have to go to a runoff. And so that's what's triggered this runoff, not only for Senator Perdue and his challenger Ossoff, but as well as Senator Loeffler and her challenger, Reverend Warnock. And so first, let me tackle the Perdue-Ossoff race. One simple reason why I think Purdue's going to be victorious in this race. One thing you got to consider, there's 159 counties down in Georgia. 30 of those counties lean Democrat, and then a handful of those counties out of the 30 also have a high population of black voters. The other 129 counties are very much red counties. And when you look at the race between Perdue and Ossoff, Perdue did lead Ossoff by 1.5 points. Again, he didn't reach the 50% threshold. That's why he's in the runoff. The one thing, though, if you listen to the media, if you listen to the talking heads, the one thing that I haven't heard a lot about that I think is going to tip this race in the favor of Senator Perdue is you had a libertarian by the name of Shane Hazel that was on the ballot for November 3rd. Shane Hazel pulled 2.3% of the vote, and Shane won't be on the ballot in January. Libertarians typically identify more with the Republican Party. They're a much more populist group. And so I do believe that Senator Perdue will pick up some of those votes from Shane Hazel not being in the race. That's one reason why I think Republicans will retain that particular seat. In the race between Loeffler and Warnock, but again, one thing that you don't hear a lot about, it's not talked about a lot within the media, that was a race that had 20 candidates in it because it was a special election. So there's no primaries, so all the candidates get to run in that particular race. And then if there's a candidate that gets a majority of the vote, that's 50% or higher, they would have been elected to that seat and they would have had to run again in 2022. No candidate got 50%, that's why we have the runoff race. However, here's one important thing that I want my audience to watch as we get ready to go into this runoff race. Representative Doug Collins, who's a member of Congress, was running for that Senate seat. Doug Collins pulled 20% of the vote in this special election that just happened on November 3rd. Doug Collins will not be on the ballot when they go into the runoff election on January the 5th. hands down, a lot of those votes, if not all those votes, will migrate towards Loeffler. Loeffler did pull around 26% of the vote in the special election. And so, again, it looks and it feels and the data is pointing towards a victory for Loeffler. Now, here's the thing. Republicans don't need to take both seats. They could just take one, and they still would have a majority in the United States Senate. Of course, they would love, for bragging rights, they would love to take both, but they only really need one. Personally, based on the data that I'm looking at today and everything that's available to me today, I think they're going to take both those seats. And here's the third and final reason why I believe Republicans can be wildly successful in Georgia with this runoff election. And this is actually the biggest one for you guys. This is the one I want you to be thinking about and remembering as you keep hearing people talking about this race. For a lot of these voters that voted on November 3rd, Stacey Abrams registered 800,000 new voters to vote on November 3rd. So you had a ton of voters that came out that had never voted before. They're not consistent voters. They mainly came out because of their disgust and distaste with the president. So to some degree, they weren't necessarily voting in favor of the potential Senate candidate. They're actually trying to vote against Donald Trump. And so for a lot of these voters, they're going to feel like this is mission accomplished. They feel like they've turned the state blue. Trump is on the way out of office, at least from their perspective. They've got a new president coming in, again, from their perspective. So a lot of these voters that never voted before, they're going to say, hey, mission accomplished, no reason for us to show back up in January. And not having the president on the ballot is going to cause cause turnout to fall. Here's another reason I think these special elections, they matter. So if you look back at any special elections in Georgia, typically if there's a special election after the presidential race, you see a drop off of 40% of voters. That means the 40% of the voters that voted on November 3rd are highly unlikely to vote in January. That's significant drop off, which works in the Republicans' favor. Since the 1960s, there's actually been 8 runoffs in Georgia. 7 out of 8 of those runoffs that happened since 1960, the GOP margin of the vote actually improved, meaning that the GOP actually performed better in the special election than they did in the general election. So that's a lot of history, I think, for us to overcome in Georgia. And even if you go back to 2008, there was a special election between a Democratic candidate, Jim Martin, and Senator Saxby Chambliss. If you go back and look at that race in 2008, Chambliss led Martin by only 3% in the actual general election. But when it went to the runoff, he beat Martin by 15 points. So the GOP margin actually increased from the general election to the runoff election, and that's historically accurate in Georgia. So that's just my take on it. Of course, some people are going to tell me I'm crazy, and I know you guys some of my Democratic friends out there are certainly wishing that they may gain a little bit more power in Washington. But those are the reasons why I believe the Republicans are going to be successful in Georgia. So just keep your eyes on that race. And by the way, today I did on the Full Locked-In show, I had an interview with Jeff Phillips, who's a small business owner in Greensboro, and he's also chairman of the Guilford County Board of Commissioners. Go check out that interview. It's available right now on the page. Also, if you're looking for more election analysis, certainly go take a look at my interview with John Hood, who's the president of the John William Pope Foundation. We broke down and analyzed the election just several days ago. That video is also available on the page. And if you want more commentary, here in just about 10-15 minutes, I'll be on the Chronicle Live. So you can go to the Chronicles page. I'll be joining Derwin Montgomery here in about 10 or 15 minutes. We're going to be talking with Kathy Manning, who won the 6th District congressional race. So until next time, y'all stay locked in.